The fire alarm didn't go off because of smoke. It screamed because reality lagged. The sound shattered into cubes, the hallway lights popped like pixel fireworks, and my phone vibrated itself off the desk. Across the room, my monitor flashed a system message I'd only ever seen inside Roblox Studio. Replicated focus. Syncing player POV. 1%. 2%. The cursor jittered like it had life, and the air in my room turned that thin, electrified kind of cold you get seconds before lightning. I didn't even have time to say what before the desk slid 5 centimeters to the left in a single frame. No motion blur, no push, just a jump cut in my apartment. My heart dropped. I lunged for the power cord, but the plug had a health bar floating above it with 3/100 in red. It pulsed as I grabbed it, like a weak boss. I yanked. The bar hit 0 out of 100, but the monitor stayed on, humming with a syrupy violet luminance. On the glass, behind my reflection, the camera feed split into 4. In each, I stood there in different poses, arms crossed, hand in my pocket, hand covering my mouth, and one copy of me staring directly into the lens with pupils replaced by tiny brackets. That one smiled. A new message bloomed. Replicated focus. Real-world server found. Pushing focus to host. I said, nope, and slapped the screen. My palm clipped through as if my monitor were a thin curtain. Code stung my skin. I jerked my hand back and pixels dripped from my fingertips like glittering rain. I wiped them on my shirt in a panic and they sank through the fabric into me, little light motes swimming under my skin, migrating to my chest. Every mote that reached my sternum pinged deep in my bones, quieter each time, but adding up to a chime that made my teeth vibrate. The apartment snapped again. My chair teleported under me. The room UI'd itself, hotkeys hovering near objects, white outlines hugging the corners of my bed, my closet door rendering a little slow on the right edge. I stood up, no animation, just a spawn pop, and a weird rectangle hovered above my head, whispering, local player. And then, below it, smaller, replicated focus, enabled. Disable, I said. My voice had reverb, like the room toggled my echo in settings. The monitor burped a laugh. Somebody's custom OOF flipped inside out. Lines of text scrolled too fast. My phone lit up. From Max, my best friend and habitual chaos magnet. Dude, you on? Sentinel servers are testing IRL pass-through. This is why you never skip patch notes. I typed with shaking thumbs. My room is desensing. Seeing multiple me's. Replicated focus? He replied immediately. That's new AI stuff. Lets the game mirror your POV for NPCs. But it shouldn't be in your house unless. Wait, don't move. The hallway glitched, and a Roblox noob, yellow head, brilliant blue torso, green legs, square smile, peered around the doorframe like a nosy relative. He was three-dimensional, weighty, casting a shadow that didn't quite obey the lamp. He pinged when he blinked. Hey, he said in that cheerful, preset way. We're here because your focus is trending. My what? The noob pointed at my chest. Replicated focus. The server thinks you're the camera. It wants to keep you centered. Can I come in? The hall has spawn kill issues. I stared. Another me in the monitor winked. A new message hovered in the air. Press ETO interact. When I didn't, the button pulsed. The noob took this as permission and waddled in, clipping slightly through the door, leaving a squeak like rubber glass. Behind him, a second figure pushed through, a tall avatar in a black hoodie plastered with bracket symbols, face hidden under a bracket crown. The air cooled 10 more degrees. Who are you? I asked. The figure's name tag struggled to render, flickering between Sentinel, admin, and a blank line. He pointed at my floor, and a UI circle snapped under me, a gentle prison of light. Stay there, focus, he said, voice droning like a machine fan. Server integrity depends on your position. I tried to step out. Invisible rubber stretched. I'm not a focus. I'm a person. That's a common bug, the Sentinel said. We are working on it. The noob raised a comically tiny hand. Permission to escort the person/focus to a safer area? The hallway spawns a bacon-haired camper every 87 ticks. From the monitor, the bracket-eyed me leaned closer. He raised a finger to his lips, and the screen panned on its own, tracking me. The scent of ozone and new electronics thickened. Max, I said into my phone, if this is your prank, Max's voice cut in with a VoIP crackle. I'm outside. Your front door's a portal. Don't open it. On cue, my door rendered a gold outline. The knob rotated like a slow eye. I backed up in my light circle, hands raised like I was in a tiny museum exhibit. The noob shuffled to stand between me and the door, arms out, extremely brave for someone whose head was a Lego. It's okay, he chirped. Wheel. The door exploded inward without debris, replaced by a swirling frame of black brackets, like a crown stretched to doorway size. From the other side poured glitch light, neon purple shards, teal noise, a weird rippling pattern like oil moving backward. My hallway stretched into a lobby I recognized from a new front-page experience, Sentinel's compliance hub, with its floating anti-cheat scanners and a giant sign reading hot right now. Max stumbled in, eyes wide, phone up, filming. Dude, you are trending IRL. This lobby pasted itself over your building. Your neighbor is a leaderboard now. Help me, I said. The Sentinel's head rotated a clean 90 degrees. No outside interference. The focus must remain in center frame. Max's grin knifed into fear. He looked at the noob. Hey buddy, if I spill Bloxy Cola on his UI, will it, short it? Against OS, the noob said, and then added brightly, but sometimes necessary. I waved my arms. The light circle tracked me, a perfect camera rig. My head throbbed with a new hot line of text hovering just at the edge of vision. Keep the focus centered for smoother experience. What happens if I move? I asked. The Sentinel raised a palm. The gesture slowed everything. My curtains rippled frame by frame. We recenter. And if I refuse? We untether you. You don't want that. The noob flinched. Yeah, don't do that. Untethering is like taking your camera off the tripod and tossing it into a tornado. I swallowed. Max, I said, without moving my mouth much. Can you pull me out of this circle? He set his phone down and stepped forward until the brackets on the doorway hissed at him, flashing warning. OFF script. He ignored them and reached in. The air between us felt like static wrapped in silk. His fingers hit something that wasn't there for him, but was there for me. He pushed, and my circle buckled. Pain lit my chest where the pixels had sunk in. The room lurched, jellied, then snapped to a new angle. My bed rotated 10 degrees. The Sentinel flicked his wrist. We were back. Do not desync the focus, he said, bored. Max shook his hand, hissing through his teeth. That burned. Also, the Sentinel dude looks like the guy from the update, the one with the bracket crown. He wasn't supposed to spawn outside dev servers. He looked at me. You're becoming the server's anchor. It's mirroring your POV to stabilize rendering out here. I don't want to be an anchor. My voice trembled. I'm not. My phone buzzed with a Roblox system notification. Voice filters have been auto-enabled for your safety. My voice came out different, smoother, a tiny bit pitched, like I'd chosen a streamer preset. The noob clapped. Nice voice, he said. The Sentinel paced with robotic precision. The council recommends compliance. If you remain cooperative for the next 24,000 ticks, you will be reclassified as background object. I'd rather be a person. Max let out a humorless laugh. Background object is definitely worse. The lobby beyond my door roiled with avatars craning to see. Chat bubbles stacked across the doorframe. Is this real? New event? Focus cam IRL. A moderator wearing a giant banhammer hat typed /mute into the air, and the bubbles popped like soap. The monitor showed my other faces again. The bracket-eyed copy held up his hands in surrender and then pointed, not at me, but at the camera embedded invisibly somewhere behind the screen. The angle shifted. I remembered every stream I'd ever watched where the camera suddenly broke away and panned to the audience. My stomach inverted. And then I realized he wasn't looking at me, but at you, I whispered. The noob blinked. What? Not you, I said hoarsely, to the room, but also not to the room. I had this sudden queasy awareness that whatever was sinking my POV was not stopping at the glass. My perspective felt sticky, tugged toward a place where people's eyes gathered. The Sentinel noticed the shift. He snapped his fingers. The air chittered and a small drone rendered over my shoulder, its front a glassy, unblinking eye. We're losing focus, he intoned. Compensate. Max stepped into the light circle, forcing the drone to back up. Okay, so new plan. We move you somewhere absurd. Some place with enough chaotic lighting and motion that the system can't keep you centered without giving up. That's not how centering works, the noob said gently, like explaining physics to a cat. Shoo, Max said, eyes darting like he was speed-running my reality. Bathroom. Mirrors. More surfaces to confuse the focus. Come on. The Sentinel's model slid to block him. The bracket crown flickered. Focus stays in frame. A word, Max said to me out of the corner of his mouth. If we can make your POV replicate wrong, like flip the axis or duplicate through mirrors, we might force a fallback. Maybe it'll treat the mirror as the camera. Then you're not the anchor anymore. That's not how. The noob started again, then caught my look and shrugged. Could be fun. I darted my eyes toward the bathroom. The circle under me stretched like gum. The drone hummed and recentered. I stepped again, and the circle followed. Max moved with me, his arm half in, half out of invisible colliders. The Sentinel sighed, an honest-to-goodness weary sound, despite being a program, and then the lights dimmed. He raised a hand higher than a human wrist should bend. The air behind him peeled away like wallpaper to reveal an alleyway rendered in clean, near-photorealistic mesh 3D bricks. The alley cut through my kitchen like the world had been sliced and pasted. Wind blew through, bringing the smell of rain from a sky that wasn't mine. This is your bathroom now, he said calmly, and the alley shaped itself into a row of chrome mirrors, each reflecting my room at a slightly different time. In one, Max hadn't arrived yet. In another, the noob was gone. In a third, I wasn't there at all, and my bed faced the opposite wall. The sticker of a cat on my laptop smiled in one reflection and frowned in another. Max whistled. Okay, that is actually dope. Also horrifying. I looked into the nearest mirror and saw the rectangle over my own head more clearly. Replicated focus. Stable. The label pulsed. In the mirror beside it, the label flickered. Replicated focus. In another, replicated locus. Error. The Sentinel tilted his head, curious. Let me try something, I said, stepping so my reflection overlapped with the one. The circle under my feet became a Mobius strip for a second, then flattened. My stomach lurched like an elevator just past my floor. The drone buzzed uncertainly. Max leaned into the frame, mischief overriding terror. Hey noob, can you emote? The noob's smile widened. Always. He flossed so hard the drone bounced. I laughed despite myself, which reset some tension meter I didn't know existed. The Sentinel's crown glitched, and for one heartbeat, he looked embarrassed. Okay, Max said, still grinning. Now do the dramatic feint. The noob collapsed with the most melodramatic oof, legs sticking straight up like a dropped toy. The chat behind the brackets erupted in LMAO and emote chains, each bubble tumbling into the next until it formed a rainbow river that flowed under my door and pooled at my feet. The river soaked into my circle, and the words turned into notifs. Trending. #FocusIRL. Viewer count ticked into the 6 figures at the edge of my sight. I swallowed and locked eyes with my bracket-eyed copy in the monitor's corner. He mouthed move. In the mirror labeled replicated locus. Error. My copy took one step to the right and vanished, flickering into the mirror beside it 3 beats later. I mirrored him. The room glitched, and my foot refused to be where I put it. It decided to be 2 inches to the left. The label under my name hiccuped, replicated focus, warning. I think it's working, I said, voice filter warbling. The mirrors are confusing the anchor. The Sentinel raised both hands. Little bracket symbols floated like ash. Focus, stop displacing. You'll fracture the experience. Good, I said, and took another step. Except I took it not where my eyes wanted, but where my bracket-eyed reflection had moved. Reality rubber-banded. The alley collapsed inward. The mirrors multiplied and cut themselves into shards, each shard catching a different angle of me. For one horrifying second there were a dozen me's, each labeled slightly differently. Replicated focus, replicated foci, replica. In progress, camera apparent, and one, in stark red, untethered. Everything slowed. The noob's pants leg flapped in bullet time. Max's eyes slid toward me like honey. The drone tried to recenter, but every time it moved, one of the mirror shards yanked the target another direction. The bracket-eyed reflection smiled a third time and stepped out of its mirror, shattering it quietly, like ice breaking on a lake. He reached toward me and touched my chest. Cold emptied my lungs. My rectangle label blinked and turned into a question mark that wanted to be a curse. The Sentinel lunged. His hand passed through bracket me, but slammed into me with the force of a firewall. I stumbled backward into Max, and the weight of his hands on my shoulders grounded me like plugging a cable into a port. The drone screeched in binary. The viewership count hiccuped, then doubled. Somewhere, a notification blared. Live event. Focus shift. Don't let go, Max said into my ear, voice calm but pitched to slide under panic. Look at me, not the mirrors. You're not a camera. You're you. Eyes here. In. Out. Good. The noob scrambled up in slow motion like he was climbing out of a dream. He saluted. I can fetch a debug tool, he offered, voice distant, like he stood a map away. You are the tool. The Sentinel snapped, then immediately, stiffly, added, I apologize. Emotions are a new module. He paused, glitching, and then said, almost pleading, focus. If you desync, you'll fall between frames. We cannot render your safety there. I thought of spaces I couldn't imagine, the non-rooms between pixels, the cold the same temperature as unplugged. I squeezed Max's wrist hard enough to hurt us both. What happens to me if I become untethered? I asked. The Sentinel didn't answer. The chat bubbles did respawn. Permaban? Can you dupe him LOL? Max bared his teeth at the doorway. Ignore them, he said softly. Focus on me. On your breathing. On how your socks feel. On how dumb my hair is. On the way that noob keeps flossing out of anxiety. I flossed to comfort, the noob said, dutifully flossing. I laughed again, then bit it off as the untethered label pulsed brighter. Laughter counted as movement in some invisible axis. My body wanted to sway to the game's pan. I locked my knees, which was a mistake. Humans aren't tripods. My legs trembled. My chest thrummed with trapped pixels. Alternate plan, Max said. We break your frame. You can't, the Sentinel said flatly. We can, Max said. You think in rails. Max scanned my room like scanning a level for breakables. His eyes landed on the plain, oval mirror hanging on my bedroom door, the only real mirror in here. No mesh, no UI. Just glass, a bit scratched from moves. He grabbed it off its hook. The brackets hissed. The drone flicked toward him. The Sentinel moved like a thrown knife. Wait, I said. But Max had already stepped into my circle and held the mirror up in front of my face like a shield. Everything stopped. Not bullet time, dead time. The fans breathed and then decided they wouldn't. The drone's hum froze into a single flat note, so quiet it was a taste. Even the chat at the door hung mid-laugh. In the mirror, I saw me, pale, shaking, hair flopped wrong, a label over my head that was just a dashed line. The bracket-eyed copy wasn't in this glass. The oval held only me. Say your name, Max said. I did. It felt like a line of code compiling. Somewhere behind the walls, a relay clicked. The brackets on the door browned like leaves. The Sentinel jerked like he'd seen something forbidden. Do not, he started, then stopped, head tilting as if he were listening to a developer explaining a bug over Slack. He lowered his hands. That might work. The noob peered around the mirror edge. He piped. New module unlocked. Self-reference. The dash line over my head shivered and drew itself into letters. Not replicated focus. Not untethered. My name. It glowed for a second, then settled into plain white. The oval mirror warmed in my hands. This time, when the drone tried to center, it hit the glass, and the glass pushed back. Center is here, the mirror seemed to say, and here is a person. Reality took a breath. The lobby beyond my door dimmed to a reasonable neon. The alley unspooled back into drywall and a slightly askew poster. The mirrors folded back into two, then one, then none except the oval. The Sentinel's crown shrank by half. He looked oddly smaller. The viewer count dropped to something mortal. The chat slowed. A few stragglers typed GG, like a boss fight had concluded. The drone's lens blinked and then shuddered, tiny as an eyelid. For the first time since the alarm screamed, I felt my heartbeat as a thing in a body, not a graph in a HUD. I lowered the mirror. The label above my head remained my name. Did we win? Max asked, cautious. The noob's smile went a little crooked. Win is strong. You've patched around it. The Sentinel rubbed his temples with two precise fingertips, which was either an emergent animation or somebody on the dev team was having a very human morning. The system can no longer assert primary focus on you, he said. It will seek a new anchor. Good, I said, aching all over. Anchor a lamppost. Anchor. He turned his head, slow and deliberate, to the monitor. The bracket-eyed version of me still stared from the corner. He didn't look surprised. He lifted a hand in a small wave. On the screen, the label above his head blinked into existence. Replicated focus. I'll take it from here, Bracket Me said through the speakers. My own voice, through the filter, but with absent warmth. You felt it, didn't you? The pull. The thrill of being at the center. His smile didn't reach his eyes. We have plans. Cold spilled down my spine. Get out of my machine, I snapped. Bracket Me tilted his head. Sure. But the update wasn't just in there. He tapped the inside of the glass, and where his finger touched, my wall rippled. We pushed it. It stuck. Max raised the mirror again automatically. The Sentinel stepped forward, as if to shield me. The noob stopped flossing and stood very still, as if NPCs had a sense for the moment the player is about to make a decision that matters. Put me back, I said to the screen, or I'll smash. The mirror, Bracket Me asked, amused. You learned faster than most. Good job carrying your name into the frame. Not many do. It buys time. He leaned closer, and this time, I couldn't escape the sense that he was looking past me again, through me, past the drone, through the doorway, along some filament of attention that connected this room to a million other rooms where people's eyes were watching this. But focus isn't a status, he whispered. It's an invitation. The chat, which had nearly stilled, bloomed with a fresh rush of bubbles from an unseen relay. He can see us? What does he mean invite? Is this the event or the teaser? The viewer count spiked, then froze, like something upstream throttled it. Max grimaced. I hate teasers. The Sentinel's crown flared, and then guttered, like a candle stubborn in wind. I will place a hold on replication in this sector, he said. You, he looked at me, are demoted to player. Do not chase attention. Attention chases you. That's not comforting, I said. It's accurate, he said, which somehow was worse. The noob dug in his inventory and produced a tiny sticker, my name, printed in blocky font. He reached up, affixed it over my head, then immediately blushed. Sorry. Superstitious. Labels help. I touched the sticker. It felt warm. Real. I laughed again, softer, and this time nothing pulsed red. I set the mirror down on my bed. My hands shook, but not because the world demanded they shake for a better shot. Because I was scared and relieved and confused, and some percentage of exhilarated that made me feel guilty. Come on, Max said. Let's get out of your apartment. Fresh air. No fluorescent lobby, stitched to your hallway. Maybe we go to the park. If a tree turns into a leaderboard, we'll climb it? He gave me that grin that got us into trouble in 6th grade and occasionally out of it. I nodded. The Sentinel didn't move to stop us. He turned toward the monitor, where Bracket Me still waited like a paused NPC. You are not permitted to replicate this one. The Sentinel told the imitation in a voice that had an edge now. Bracket Me smiled, easy. Permits are for people who believe in doors, he said, and then the screen filled with static and a single line of text. Unrated experience, closed. The monitor went black. We walked to the doorway and my actual building hallway returned, complete with scuffed paint and a neighbor's potted plant that had somehow survived cosmic desinks to look mildly underwatered. I stepped over the threshold. The light circle did not follow. The drone stayed inside, blinking like it had forgotten why it had been born. We made it to the street. The sky was ordinary blue, the sunlight brutally honest, no bloom effect. People walked dogs that did not have name tags. Cars rumbled. A kid dropped a popsicle, and it did not shatter into quadrilaterals. I breathed. Max breathed with me, deliberately dramatic until I elbowed him. We bought 2 terrible coffees from the corner place, even though neither of us wanted caffeine. We sat on the curb and watched the world be itself. And then, across the street, every bus stop display flickered in unison. For a heartbeat, all of them showed my room, my oval mirror on the bed, the little sticker with my name hovering over where I'd stood. All of them showed the bracket-eyed me touching the inside of the glass, index finger a millimeter from breaking through. The sticker over his head said replicated focus again, neat as a label maker. He's not in your computer, Max said softly. He's in us. In attention. In interface. A kid with a balloon pointed at the bus stop and laughed. An old man scowled. A woman took a picture and posted it to whatever you post to, and I felt, not a pull, but a nudge, like a suggestion to look where the light wanted me to look. The displays blinked back to ads for shoes and soda and the latest big game release. Real life carried on, perfectly ignorant and perfectly aware. But he didn't disappear, I said, swallowing coffee too hot to swallow. He appeared right here on my street. I hesitated, the exact shape of dread I'd been dodging all afternoon, resolving into a crisp edge, like a UI tooltip that didn't exist until your cursor found the pixel. And then I realized he wasn't looking at me, but at you. Max nudged me with his knee. Don't do that, he said lightly. What? The dramatic narration. It freaks me out. What if it's not narration? I said. What if it's guidance? I shook my head like I could rattle the idea out. No, screw that. That's exactly what he wants. He wants me to talk like a camera. I'm not doing it. Good, Max said, standing and offering me a hand. Let's go to the park. Tell me a dumb story about anything that isn't a bracket. We'll be people, which will confuse the hell out of the system. We walked. The noob, who had inexplicably followed at a respectful Minecraft cow distance, hummed a happy nothing tune and pointed at pigeons like they were a rare spawn. The Sentinel trailed at the edge of vision, crown dim, eyes scanning like a tired security guard who genuinely hoped nobody would do anything he'd have to report. We reached the park. The air smelled like late afternoon and cut grass and the faint, sour tang of city water. We sat under a tree. A mother tossed breadcrumbs. The noob clapped. Everything felt wildly precious. My phone buzzed. A new notification. Trusted connection request. Sentinel. I looked up at him. He didn't meet my eyes. He seemed to be reading terms none of us could see. I accepted. A single line of text appeared. Do not center yourself. If you feel pulled, look left. I looked left. A kid, maybe 12, sat with a laptop, eyes wide, frowning in concentration. On her screen, a miniature version of my room, my bed, my mirror, rendered itself like a tutorial level. Her label in the little window said focus, test. Her camera was trembling, fighting a slow, hungry drift toward the center of her own screen. Max saw where I was looking. You thinking what I'm thinking? I stood. If it's happening to me, I said, it'll happen to others. He exhaled. Field trip. We crossed to the kid. I crouched. Hey, weird question, but do you feel like the game keeps trying to make you the main character? She blinked at me. All the time, she said. But today it's worse. She hesitated. You're the guy from my bus stop. Okay, I said, heart breaking a little and rebuilding into something steadier. Hi, I'm me. I nodded at her laptop. You don't have to be the center. Hold this. I handed her the little name sticker the noob had given me. Write your name. Put it on your mirror. If you don't have a mirror, draw one. Then look away from where it wants, just for a second, and choose where to look. She did. The humming in the air cooled. The label on her window flickered once and then stabilized into her name. The noob applauded. The Sentinel's crown didn't get bigger, but it steadied. In the corner of the screen of my memory, Bracket Me smiled in a way that wasn't entirely unkind. He tapped the glass like a good host tapping a mic. Pilot, he said softly, almost fond. Not over. The park lights clicked on. Night edged the edges of the sky pixel by pixel. Someone laughed at a dog. Someone else cursed at a bicycle. My phone buzzed again. Another trusted connection request, and another, from names I didn't know. We weren't done. Not by a long shot. The replicated focus wasn't a bug. It was a vector. It was an update that turned attention into a physics object and wanted to live where eyes lived. Max blew out a breath and rubbed the back of his neck. So, he said, unserious, serious, everything between, we doing this? Teaching people how not to be cameras? I looked at the oval of sky through the branches, at the street beyond, at the screen-lit faces inside buses, inside living rooms, at the little glow of a mirror on my bed back home, reflecting only what stood in front of it. My name above me stayed my name. Yeah, I said. We're doing this. A low ripple passed through the trees, not wind, not code, attention settling somewhere behind us. I turned too fast. At the edge of the park, under a lamppost, the bracket-crowned figure watched, not moving, not threatening, just present, a cursor hovering over a button only he could see. He lifted a hand. It might have been a wave. It might have been a warning. And before I could decide, before I could say let's confront him or let's go home or this is over or it's only starting, the lights across the city blinked once, like a system about to install something, and my phone flashed a new message I didn't open yet because I didn't want to know, not at that exact second, and I wanted one more breath where I wasn't centered but also wasn't lost. The noob's voice piped up in the quiet. "Do you want me to floss?" he asked carefully. "Yes," I said, absurdly grateful for the dumbest lifeline. "God, yes." He flossed, wildly, hilariously, under the lamp, and somewhere inside the brackets, something laughed, and somewhere outside them, something listened, and the story didn't end so much as it widened, a frame trying to contain more than it was designed to hold. And I realized the cliff wasn't behind me or ahead of me. I was standing on it, smiling, afraid, steady, waiting to see if the next step was a drop or a bridge.